evening, everyone. It's your girl, Coach T, back for another amazing Monday evening here at She Speaks TV. And of course, I am excited to first and foremost say thank you to all of you who have tuned in for the last 17 episodes. I feel really good saying that. So we are at episode 17, episode 7 of season 2. First, I want to shout out to the House of Layla. More importantly, this proud sponsor for tonight's outfit. I'm excited. Thank you so much. Shout out to True Blue PR, for Palmer's, and Goji. We thank all of our sponsors, Caribbean Life TV and Seventh Wonder. We continue to thank them for their tireless efforts because, again, it takes a team to make all of this happen. And so with that being said, tonight I'm honored to have in the studio ladies, gents, ladies, more importantly. This is inspiration for the soul. And for those of you men who are watching, we appreciate you as well. But of course, we know She Speaks TV is designed to empower the women mentally, spiritually, and financially all around the world. And so tonight, I have in the studio with me an amazing boss babe. Her name is Jessica Thomas. She is a teen mom turned mogul. And so we get to hear her story tonight. So I hope you got a pen and some paper and maybe some tissue. We're definitely going to have a candid conversation. Jessica, welcome to She Speaks TV.
Thank you so much.
We're honored to have you. I'm going to jump right in tonight because I want you to let the world know who is Jessica Thomas.
Jessica Thomas.
Yes, girl. Who is she?
So Jessica I'm a dreamer and an innovator. Most importantly, a problem solver. And that's how we're here today, because I see problems and I solve them, and I don't let anything stop me from achieving all of my dreams and anything that I want to do.
I like that. So innovator, visionary, problem solver, unstoppable.
Exactly.
That sums you right on up. I love that. So I know that you have an amazing platform for beauty bosses, aspiring beauty bosses, and you started a nonprofit. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so Future Beauty Boss Camp. The vision actually came in the middle of COVID. I was in the bed one day and I'm like, I wish there was a summer camp for girls like me. Like when I was younger, I always knew I wanted to do hair or be in the beauty industry, but the standard was, no, you have to go to college. Like, you don't make money doing hair. So I wanted to show girls, especially girls that look like me, that we can be successful and make 6 figures in the beauty industry, but let me show you. Let me show you the actual technique of how to do lashes, how to do hair, how to put a wig on, how to do nails, but most importantly, the business side about it. How do you pay yourself? How do you establish your business? So that's pretty much how camp came about. I begged all my friends, like, I need your help, and we jumped right into it, literally in the middle of COVID.
Now, how many, is it a virtual camp at this point?
No, so we were in person.
Okay.
We keep the group very small. So okay. It started off with just 6 girls. But we exceeded that number the first year. So we did 7 girls because somebody slid in, and I'm just like, oh, let her come. So this year we're doing 10 girls in each city. So
nice.
You just keep it.
Wait. You said in each city.
In each city, yeah.
Okay. So how many cities do you go to?
So this past summer we went to 2. We did Tampa and Jacksonville. But this year we're doing 5 camps in 4 cities. So 2 in Tampa, Florida, 1 in Jacksonville, 1 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and 1 in Dothan, Alabama.
Okay. Now I'm curious. How did you pick Dothan, Alabama?
You know, it's so funny. We lived in Dothan. I'm a military brat. Okay. And we were stationed in that area for a while. Mm-hmm. And what happened was my mom, it was time for her to move again. But at that time, I'm like, Mom, I'm sick of moving. Like, I'm just going to stay here. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with Dothan. It's a little small country town in Alabama. Like, yes. They're known for peanuts. It's literally a circle. But living in Dothan, I just grew so much. Like, the people there, first of all, when I got there, I'm this girl with these wild eyelashes with feathers and stuff. So they're just like, this girl
in Alabama, baby. Alabama. Roll Tide, yes. War Eagle, which one?
I neither. I just keep it neutral.
I got you.
But, so, you know, I'm in this city, and everybody there, they're just so spiritual and so loving, and everybody's like your mom, and I'm just like, oh, I really like it here. I'm from the city, so I'm not used to that. I'm not used to people speaking to you and wanting to hug on you and all of that stuff. So Dothan is where I really knew that I had something. Like, they started pouring into me and, like, going to church, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I have something. And that's where my visions really started to, like, manifest, and I started believing in myself and doing stuff. So that's why I'm going back to Dothan.
Okay. You, military brat, are you a Pittsburgh native?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh, yeah.
Okay, born and bred.
Born and bred, yeah.
Okay. So what really drove you? I know you said you're a problem solver. And I know you said you didn't see a lot of opportunities or a lot of people wrapping their arms, because if I go on the internet right now, like my daughter is actually, ironically, I'm going to pair you up, because she's asking to now go learn how to do nails, and she wants to learn how to do lashes because she's seeing all her friends make money. But I'm like, make sure that it's your passion, make sure it's something you want to do. What made you wake up one day and say, boom, I want to start this camp and I want to make sure that our girls do it? Like, what was the real inspiration behind it for you?
Well, for me, I'm also an educator. So by trade, I'm an esthetician. I specialize in eyelash extensions. That was my thing. I also educate other beauty professionals on how to do eyelash extensions. So I would be teaching people, and I'm like, I don't really like grown people. Like, they have too many like roadblocks stopping them. But when you're a kid, there's nothing that you feel like you can't do. Like, you feel limitless, like you can do anything you want to. So I'm like, I'm still going to help the grown people, but let me go to the babies. Let me start them in the beginning to show them, like, hey, not saying that college isn't for you, but you can make money while you're in college with this skill. So that's what made me want to pivot to the kids. So that's why I got there.
Wow. And then you pivoted to Dothan, Alabama to, wait a minute, let's pause, because there's a piece missing. How did you get from Pittsburgh to Florida?
So, again, I'm a military brat. Gotcha. So, my mom, we always got stationed in Jacksonville. Always. Like, always. I'm just like...
Was that Army?
Army, yeah.
Okay.
She was a recruiter.
Okay.
So, we would end up in, like, odd places. You know, sometimes there wasn't an Army base there, but it's because of her job. So, we always got stationed in Jacksonville. And I'm like, okay, I like it here in Florida. It's nice. It's fun. So I spent a lot of time between Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. When my mom would get deployed, I would go back to Pittsburgh, or because I'm really close with my grandmother. She still lived in Pittsburgh. So a lot of times if me and my mom were butting heads, I'm like, I'm just going back to my grandma's house. I'm not going to fool with you. So that's how I ended up, you know, having roots in Jacksonville and in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, okay. And so in reading your bio, it touches on becoming a teen mother. Talk to us about that experience.
Wow. So I got pregnant when I was 12.
Okay. I
had my daughter when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
And I remember, like, my mom, she found out I was pregnant on Halloween. I won't forget it. She found out I was pregnant, and she obviously she's
wasn't
upset.
a costume.
No, yeah, it wasn't a costume. She was very upset. You know, she's, you know, in the middle of her military career. I have a little sister, and at the time, my stepdad, I don't know if he was I don't really remember where my stepdad was at the time, but she called every abortion clinic in, like, because this is the time we had phone books. So every abortion clinic, from the first page of in the phone book to the last page, and all of them told her no. I was too young. It was too risky. Like, they didn't want me to be the first time that they did an abortion on somebody who was 12 years old. So, you know, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is a sign. Like, you know, my mom had conversations. At the time, my great-grandmother was still alive. She lived to be 100 years old. And my great-grandma said, girl, teenagers been having babies forever. That doesn't stop anything. She's just going to have a baby, and she's going to keep it moving. And that's literally what happened. I had my daughter. My family came together, and we just stuck together. They helped out. My grandma came and helped, my great-grandma, my mom. So it was just like, okay.
You had a supportive network.
A supportive network. And that same daughter, now here she is 23. She's a kindergarten teacher. You know, so I look at her like, your life had a purpose. Like, you were supposed to be here. So.
Absolutely. Now, it's interesting because some people would say, wow, what about your environment put you in a place, not to be judgmental or anything, but what about your environment drove you to even become pregnant at 12 years old?
You know, it's so funny because sex was never a conversation. Like, you kind of, I learned, I mean, they don't even have health class anymore, but we kind of learned about it.
Did they have sex
in
ed?
Health class. I mean, yeah, it was kind of like a day. Like, your parent had to sign this paper, and we talked about, like, you know, this is how you have sex, and this is what happens. But, like, it was, and no fault of my mom, you know, but it was just never a conversation. Like, okay, so this is sex, and this is what it is. So the conversations came from my older cousins. Like, I would just hear them talking about, like, oh, I had sex with this guy, or, you know, I'm talking to this guy, he bought me this, I got that. So I'm like, oh, okay, so, like, you have sex, and then, like, you get stuff, and then I'm like, okay. My very first time ever having sex, I didn't even really know what it was like. I was sitting like, is this, like, we having sex? Like, is this what we're doing? Didn't really know, so, you know, it happened. And I remember going, it was in the summertime, I was visiting my grandma in Florida, and I remember, like, going home and, like, going to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, so I had sex, so this means I'm going to have a baby in 9 months in April. Not
thinking that,
you know, but like, in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, so this means I'm going to have a baby in 9 months. And never thought anything else about it. And then come to find out, like, I really was pregnant on the very first time. Like, it wasn't like I had a second, no, first time. I got pregnant.
Wow, at 12, I love it. So where was the father in this role?
I mean, so he was a lot older than me.
Okay.
So like, he has a in and out relationship, you know, with my daughter. But yeah, so he hasn't really had like a real active role. I mean, he probably thinks that he has, but he hasn't had an active role.
Oh, I feel you. I understand. I understand. And the reason why I ask that, because as a single mom and raising children, you know, we look and say, your daughter's 23 now. How has that impacted her? Because I know that as you get these young girls who come through your camp, you probably are able to really relate because you see so much of maybe the younger self, your younger self. Were you always wanting to be an entrepreneur? Like, were you that person that knew that from day one?
I always knew, like, I mean, I didn't know what it was called. I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Right.
Like, my mom was in the military. My grandmother was a nurse. So I didn't come from that background. But I remember, like, back in the day getting the JCPenney catalog for Christmas and circling all the things that were, like, things that you can make, like bracelets or, like, little pot holders. And I would get those things. I would make it and I would sell it to family, to friends. I would go to school like, oh, I had this bracelet. I'll make you one for $3. Or like the little keychains with the strings. I would, oh, I'll make you one for $5. Or I'll show you how to make one for $10. Like, it's always just been in me to sell stuff, like to make it and sell it.
Natural born hustler.
Natural born.
Well, let me ask you, what would you say has been, because you've had to grow up fairly quickly, like 12 years old, boom, suddenly you become an adult, although you're not an adult. But what would you say has been your biggest challenge to date coming through your journey? And it may be more than one.
I mean, you know, it's hard because I don't identify a lot of things as challenges. I just look at it like a lesson, like, okay, well, this was a lesson that needed to be learned here. So, and even like being pregnant in middle school, that was my normal. Like, it was normal to me to be pregnant. So when people say like, oh, was that hard? I'm like, well, I don't know, because that was my life.
That was your norm.
That was my norm. So I can't really say that I've had like a lot of like challenges, because everything I just look at like, all right, this is just a new obstacle. How are we going to fix it? What's the next step?
Well, so in that vein, describe what would have been like the biggest obstacle that really propelled you to shift, like that shift. When we say shift happens, what obstacle came forth, taught you the greatest lesson, and then drove you?
You know, the biggest lesson is I was in Dothan, Alabama. I was working at this law firm, and I remember getting fired for like I literally got fired for no reason. So I remember sitting in her office, and the lady, she's telling me like, okay, so after this, you're gonna clock out, you're gonna go home, I'll pay you for the rest of the day. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, wait a minute, like you're firing me? I remember begging, like almost in tears, like, please, like I have kids, like why I can't afford to lose my job. And I just remember saying like, I can never ever be in this situation again. I can never let somebody control me, like control what I'm able to do for my family. So I would honestly say that was like the biggest turning point in my life, when I was just like, I gotta get it together. Like, we gotta figure this out and get it together. So
have you always, because being a military brat, I think I find that we're putting ourselves in a position where we're maturing a lot faster because everybody else around us is an adult and we're moving. Have you always deemed yourself so mature and so beyond your years? Because I kind of get the sense that as a 12-year-old, you were operating probably like an 18-year-old. Or as they say, an old soul.
Old soul.
Yes.
I would say to a certain extent, but again, it goes back to, this is my norm. Like, I'm just so used to operating in this space that I never like, oh, well, people do say like, oh, you act older, you know, than what you really are. But I'm like, oh, well, it's just my norm. Like, I had 2 kids, you know, by the time I was 18, I had 2.
Okay. And
I was responsible for these 2 little people. So I always felt like, we got to make it happen. Like, no matter what, we got to get it done.
When did you go to esthetician school?
Oh, God. What's this year? 2021?
Yes. 2020,
wow.
almost 22.
So I made that decision when I was like 26 or 27. So, it was a few years ago. Gotcha. But what happened, I remember, I was like, okay, I'm almost 30. Like, I had this like mental breakdown. Like, I think I was like 25, turning 26. Like, Jessica, you're about to be 30. Like, what do you got going on with yourself? And I'm not saying I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I always knew, like, if I really need, I could always, Mom, I need this, Grandma, whatever. But I wanted to stand on my own 2 legs and, like, I got it. Like, I don't really need anybody's help. So I just started scouring, like, what can I do? And I remember telling my mom, like, I'm going to go to school to be an esthetician. And she was like, oh, what is an esthetician? Like, what do they even do? But it's because I knew I wanted to do lashes. That's the only reason I went to esthetician school. Like facials and all that, I'm like, I don't care about that. I just want to do lashes. And this was a while ago, because I started actually lashing in 2009 before it was like trendy and everybody was doing it. Right. But to work somewhere, I knew I had to become an esthetician. So that's kind of like how I put those two together. I went through esthetician school, and I was a horrible student. Like I was the worst. Like I really salute and applaud my teachers, because they really put up with me. I was working from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, and then leaving work, maybe getting an hour of sleep, and then going to aesthetic school.
Wow.
So I did that for like a year and a half until I graduated.
Thank God for the support system.
Yes.
Wow. So what are some of the biggest goals that you have for yourself and your organization?
Oh, well, for my organization, because I put that in front of everything. Like
That's the
this
baby.
is like my baby, you know. So for the organization, like I want to touch as many girls as I could possibly touch.
What's the ages?
So it's from 12 to 18.
Okay.
I want, when camp opens up that first Friday in March, when the registration opens, I want it to be like every city is sold out. Like how everybody's trying to get like PlayStations right now. You click on it, it's gone. I want it to be the same thing with camp. Like as soon as they click it, it's gone. Like they're all gone. I want to sell out every city, because I want to touch as many people as I possibly can, to let them know, like, hey, sometimes you don't want to hear what your mom has to say, but you'll listen to it from somebody else. But it's the same thing.
It's all like that,
yeah,
though.
it's the same thing, but it's just coming from somebody else. So
right, more relatable.
Right.
I kind of feel like that. I'm talking to my 23-year-old. I'm sure you can imagine. I feel like Charlie Brown.
Right.
Because I'm like, no. She'd be like, wah, 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 wah. But like 2 years later, I'll hear something that I said 2 years later. I'm like, oh, so you were listening.
You were listening, yeah.
And how big is your team? Because obviously, is it just you that does these camps?
So, yes and no. It's me. I facilitate everything, but I reach out to all of my friends in the beauty industry. I mean, I haggle them like, hey, girl, listen, I really need you to volunteer your time. I can't pay you right now, but one day I'm going to be able to pay you. Yes. So they all literally just jump in. They tell me, like, what supplies that's needed, you know, for them to teach whatever course they're going to teach. I get the supplies, and they donate their time. So it's just really me reaching back to my friends like, hey, girl, I
love that. Also, you're just an avid networker, too.
Oh, yeah.
So a young girl shows up to your camp. What is a day like for these future beauty bosses? What is a young woman shows up day one of camp? Take me through that experience.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so day one, you know, we start our morning off with positive affirmation. So every morning there's a boss baby quote up there, whatever it may be. Like, you know, we have a quote. And we go around the room and we talk about the quote. Like, what does this quote mean to you? Now, granted, these are 12 to 18-year-olds, and it's the summertime, and some of them are just like, I don't want to do this, but they do it. We talk about your goals, like what are your goals for today? And we set our intentions, and then we move forward. So what happens is, the best thing about our camp is that everything that they learn is hands-on, and they get to keep it. So for example, if we're doing makeup today, you're going to get a full makeup kit, not like some just crap off of Amazon. I'm talking like
you're giving out brushes.
Yeah, we're giving brushes. We're giving palettes, foundation.
Oh, wow.
We talk about color matching. We talk about all of those things, and they get to take everything home with them.
Wow.
Everything. So after you leave camp, you still have the tools to apply what you learned in camp. So
wow.
Yeah.
So just from the top of your head, I know you've seen. So this is what year is this? This is 2?
Oh, this will be going into year 3.
Year 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the success stories.
You know, the biggest one that sticks out, I had my very first camp. It was a girl in there. She was 18. Like, she turned 18, I think, like, on one of the last days of camp. So she was graduating high school, and she was going to beauty school.
Okay.
So for her, we actually helped her set up her business. Like, we went on the website, we registered her business. We set her up as a DBA just because she didn't really know what she wanted it to be. But to walk her through those steps of, like, this is how you set up your business. This is where, you know, what you need to do. So she goes to beauty school, and she's like, a lot of this stuff I already knew. Like, I already knew how to set up my business. And she was able to figure out what she really wanted to do. So her name is Trinity, I believe. I don't think she's graduated from beauty school yet, but she is like my wow, like all the wheels clicked. And for her mom to even tell me, like, you know, thank you, because I didn't really know, like, where to start. So she always sticks out in my mind.
So is there like a follow-on program? Do you follow these young girls? Like my brother, he has a camp And of course, I always see the boys, even after camp, always around, like they leave camp and they come to him. So is there a follow through with these? Like, are you tracking them throughout their progress or throughout the years of being in your program?
So we do try to keep in touch with them, whether it's through Instagram, social media, calling them, or not really calling, but, texting back and forth. What happens is a lot of the girls, like from each person who comes to teach them, they give them their contact information. So a lot of them, whatever the subject is that they're interested in, which is nails. Like nails is like the big one. Like the girl who teaches nails, like she was like, hey, they reach out to me all the time. So they do have that connection, that mentor, even after camp, that they can always reach back out to. So yeah, we do keep our hands on them as much as we can.
I love, if there was advice that you could give your teenage self, what would that be?
Just keep going.
Wow.
Like just keep going. That would be the advice that I would give myself. Like.
And for the young girl that's lost and feeling whimsical and doesn't want to go to college and is looking to connect, what advice would you give her?
You have to follow your dreams. Like, follow your heart will never lead you in the wrong direction. So if your heart is telling you to go, just go. Do it broke, do it scared, like just do it. I mean, you can jump. What's the worst that's going to happen to you? You're going to fall.
You're strong as hell. Just jump, do it broke, do it anyways, feel it.
I'm the queen of just doing it and figuring it out. Like every business I've ever started, it was just, let me just do it and figure it out. That's just how I operate.
You realize how intricate of a discipline that is, because so many people have lost the ability. They want to be spoon-fed, handheld, dragged, pulled. I hate to say that. It's almost like a welfare mentality. Want somebody to give it to them. But you have managed to figure it out. What keeps driving you? What makes you keep going? I mean, I would say, what are you afraid of? But based on your energy, you ain't afraid of nothing.
I'm really not
afraid.
Yes.
So what keeps you going?
I think about my kids all the time. Like, if I was to drop dead today, I want to make sure that they'll still be able to continue. Obviously, they'll miss me. I'm not going to be here, but I want to make sure that I leave them something that they're going to be okay. Like, my goal is for generations beyond me to be like, you know what? My great auntie Jessica did this, so we chilling. Like, we don't have to work hard. So that's really my goal, because my great grandmother did it for me.
Ah, okay.
We're living off of decisions that she made before I was even thought of.
I like that word, decisions.
Decisions. Like the story is, I mean, I've never met her, but sometime 1920s, my great grandmother acquired a bunch of land in Alabama from a white man. Nobody in my family knows how she acquired so much land from this white man, but she did. And in everyone's will, it says this land is to never be sold for any reason. Any reason.
Wow.
Everybody's will. So I think back on her, like, what were you thinking? Like, this was the
1920s and in Alabama.
A black lady.
Right. And all that was happening in 1920 in Alabama.
In Alabama. And she acquired a bunch of land. The land is still in my family right now. So when I think about that, I'm like, she was paving the way for me. Like, she was saying, I'm going to do this so generations after me can still be successful. So, and then I look at my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother, she didn't work, but she worked at home. Like, she raised my grandmother. And my great-grandfather, he worked. Yeah, she was a housemaker, and she was strong and very witty. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to meet her and know her. Like, she lived to be 100, so I knew her very well. Even my children had the opportunity to meet her.
Oh, wow.
And then I think about my grandma. My grandmother, she just passed away at the beginning of this year. So we're coming up on her 1-year anniversary. But again, just a strong black woman. Like, she was scrubbing people's floors to put herself through college, through nursing school. So I'm like, wow. I come from all of these strong women. Like, I have no choice. Like, it's just in me. Like, it wasn't something that, I had to find. It was just, before I was born, it was already in me to be great. So,
and you found a way to tap in.
Yeah.
And then pull it out and then execute based upon that.
Absolutely.
Bad girl. If you could be remembered, known for one thing, what would you want to be remembered for? I heard the legacy for the family, but to the world, the big picture, Jessica Thomas, what do we know her for? What would we remember her for?
She didn't stop. She didn't stop. I'm like a train, like going down the tracks, like nothing can stop me. Literally nothing.
Wow. Do you read?
I do. I'm more of an audiobook person because I'm always just on the go, so I never have time to flip the pages of books anymore, but I'm an audiobook girl.
What's that day look like in your life right now? Because you done flown from Tampa to here and then fly back tomorrow. What does a day in your life look like?
Oh my God, it's really insane. So I mean, like I still do lashes. Okay. We are in the middle of the holiday season, so it's a crazy, crazy time with that. I'm still an educator. I still teach beauty professionals how to do lashes. I have a car rental business. I started a 360 booth business for my children. Like that was their Christmas gift for me. Like, here you guys go, start a business. So it's just always, there's always something to do.
Wow.
Always.
I love that. To those who are tuning in today, how can they connect with you?
So they can find us on social media. On Instagram and Facebook, we're at Future Beauty Boss Camp. We're always taking donations all year long. All year long, no amount is too small. You can shop on our Amazon list. Our website is www.fbbcinc.org.
Love. So what's on the Amazon list?
Oh, on the Amazon list, it changes daily depending on what we're adding in. So there's things from like sewing machines to mannequin heads to nail kits to mirrors, like all of those things. Because again, the girls take home everything from camp. Like hey, take your stuff, get your mirrors, and then on their mirrors we put a positive affirmation. On the mirror it says it's on the inside that counts. Because it is, like, it doesn't matter what your outside is. It's what do you feel on the inside? Like, what do you feel about yourself? So that's what I always want to give to them. Like, remember what's inside of you.
I love that. When you think about that, has it ever gotten dark for you?
I mean, I've had dark times, but I don't sit in it. Like, I'll be like, okay, this is shitty, I don't like it, but how are we going to fix it? Because I'm a fixer. Like, I never, even my friends know. If you call me with a problem, I'm like, okay, so
what are we doing about it?
So what are we going to do? Like, what's our next step? I'm not the friend that's going to sit on the phone about, oh, girl, I'm so upset. No. What's our plan? Like, how are we going to fix it? So.
I love it. What do your kids think about mom?
I'm just mom. Like, they're just like, oh, that's just my mom.
That's
like,
just mom. Yeah. How, and you got 23-year-old?
23 and 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, grown folks.
Grown.
And what are they aspiring to do?
Well, my daughter, she's a teacher.
Right.
And
kindergarten, right?
She teaches kindergarten, and that is a selfless.
Yeah.
And she loves them, like, I mean, thoroughly loves. This is her first year teaching, so I just hope that she doesn't get the
burnout.
Yeah, the burnout. But she loves those kids. And then my son, we just take it day by day, you know.
I think everybody has a child like that. My oldest is my middle child, and so last night she was saying, she's like, I'm the middle child. I'm supposed to be a little challenging. Was that what they said?
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, let them figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing, is not to force it down their throats
Yeah.
and let them find themselves in the process. I think as parents, I made that mistake. I wanted what I wanted for my children, and it sounds like you've just let yours go and decide who they want to become in a good way with a little direction.
Even I've learned that if I interject my thoughts or my feelings, it always goes left. So even when they come to me for advice, I'm like, well, what do you think? Right. Like, what do you think you should do? Oh, sounds like a great idea. I think that's what you should do. Like, that's how all of our conversations go. Because if I say, well, I think, then it's going to be like, well, you told me to. So I always put it back on them. What do you want to do? Okay, we'll do that.
I love. So, well, after you got this business, that business, the 360, you got the car, you got all these little businesses. What's like the next big thing? What do you have as the visionary? What do you see down the road? 10 years from now, what are we seeing? 10 years from now,
it's camp. Like, it's
all
camp.
Over the world.
It's everywhere. You know, this small idea I had just one day laying in the bed has turned into something that I couldn't even like fathom. I'm just like, oh well, I didn't think I was going to sell out the first camp. I just remember sitting there, like every time somebody bought a ticket, I'm like, oh mom, somebody just bought a ticket to camp. Like, oh my God. And she's like, okay, that's what you want to do. Or the next person, I'm calling my friend like, girl, somebody just bought a ticket to camp. So like that's what I see. Even when people pay for me to teach them like lashes, I always call my friend like, girl, somebody just paid for me to teach. And she's like, okay, like what do you think? You know, so I'm always just like taken aback. Like at the end of the day, I'm really just a goofy girl, you know, that loves to do lashes, and I just walk in my purpose. So it's always just like, oh wow, people believe in me. They believe in my vision. So
I love that. Well, I'm so excited that you had an opportunity to share. I would love to help sponsor a girl. Okay. So I just want to throw that out there. Moving into camp starts when?
Our first camp is in the end of June.
Okay, so it is summer.
Yeah, in the summertime.
I mean, how long is it?
It's for 1 week. We keep them for 1 week, and then we move on to the next.
So you house them too?
Oh no, we don't house them. We keep them for we keep them for they come. Well, it's all day. Camp is from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if your parents are working, they drop you off. We feed you, give you snacks, like so. Gotcha. And they said we give good snacks too. So.
The food is always important.
Yeah, the food is a bonus. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay. Well, you definitely have my support, and I'm excited to see
so much.
what else it is that you do down the road, and we're so grateful that you came to share your story with us.
Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gents, we're so excited that you guys tuned in today, and of course, I love the advice that she gave is that you just do it, right? Obstacles are those things that you pay attention to when you lose your focus, and so understand that you either go above them, around them, or under them, but you do not let them block you. And we're so excited that you guys had an opportunity to tune in today. So as always, tune in every Monday at 8 p.m. You never know what we're going to do, but definitely tune in every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, SheSpeaksTVShow.com. Follow us on Instagram at SheSpeaksGlobal, as well as Twitter and Facebook. We love you, and as always, we'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.